Well, hey everyone, I just have some rather informal and unpolished thoughts to share with you today. I was reading an article this morning that pretty accurately addresses and sums up the backlash to the hashtag #MeToo movement. And I will link that article below if you're interested in reading it. So for those of you who may not be aware, basically, in the wake of the hashtag #MeToo campaign witch hunt, a lot of men are refusing to mentor, assist women in the workplace. They are aware that almost anything they say or do can be used against them, and enough men have been fired or even taken up on legal charges for things they didn't do, or things that in no sane person's book could be construed as harassment or assault. So realities like this have even some feminists seeing the light and realizing that feminism has never really had the best interests of women at heart, or that it certainly doesn't now. Third wave feminism certainly doesn't. Because, of course, the irony of men stepping back and refusing to help women in the workplace is that women are not advancing as well, and they're having trouble, which is, the opposite of what feminism sort of exists to help or promote, or so they say. So some feminists, the more moderate ones, I would say, women who call themselves feminists because they believe it's about equality, they don't really understand its roots or its purposes, can be shown information like this in statistics that prove that these kinds of policies and campaigns are not good for women, and they start to go, maybe this isn't such a good idea. I'm glad this information is out there. Perhaps we can have a discussion and turn this ship around. And it brought to mind for me, again, the intense selfishness of that mindset. That as long as women are being privileged or profiting, at least as feminists see it, then feminism is good. If women are in any way disadvantaged, feminism is bad. Never mind what it's doing to our children. Never mind what it's doing to our men. Because women are what matter. I brought this up about a decade ago. In 2010, when I was doing my first series on feminism on YouTube, I pointed out the fact that as males become more feminine and females become more masculine, a lot of women, feminists included, are realizing, this isn't the world we wanted. Turns out we actually are more attracted to more masculine men, and shoot, we've kind of overdone this whole feminism thing. Time to reel it back in. And perhaps I'm stating the obvious here, but what in the world? As long as women were feeling fine about it, it was fine. Never mind that for all these years, this feminism has been running over men in the process and destroying society. We only care now that it's a problem for women. And that's why, again, feminism is not about equal rights. It never has actually been about equal rights, if you study history. At the very least, hopefully we can agree it isn't about equal rights now, because women have all the rights of men and more in our country. And by all means, let's get women and men, whoever, to speak out about having been sexually assaulted. That is something that needs to be okay. People need to speak out about legitimate sexual assault and legitimate harassment as properly defined, and rape, and things like that. But the Me Too campaign, the Me Too movement, wasn't actually about that. I mean, they've obviously rallied legitimate victims to their cause, but it would take a whole second video to do, to explore and explain the roots and the goals of the movement. But that's why, campaigns like #MeToo are the proverbial feminist wolf in human rights clothing. It's not about equal rights, it's not about human rights. There's a much different program going on here. Unfortunately, a lot of women and men are lured into it thinking that it's genuinely about human rights for all and all of that nonsense. So many feminists and feminist sympathizers and the mainstream media are asking, why are men so afraid to help women at work now? Why do you think? If you could lose your livelihood on a random accusation that may or may not be true, but will be hyped up, will be listened to, all because we happen to be in the middle of a sexual assault witch hunt, I mean, what would you do? Of course these men are going to say, I'm not comfortable mentoring a woman. Of course these men are going to say, I'm not comfortable having the door closed when I sit down one-on-one with a woman, which is a good policy anyway. But, you know, what did we think would happen? So my challenge to those of you who call yourself feminists, or those of you who are not technically feminists, but you think like one, or you are a non-feminist, but you don't understand some of this recent male behavior and the recent male anger, is to think about what it's like to be in men's shoes these days. I mean, this isn't opinion here. Men are being fired and brought up on legal charges for quite literally saying good morning, for holding the door open for a woman, for complimenting her on her outfit. That's what men are being fired for today. It's actually happening if you're keeping up with any of these stories. Now, societally speaking, not even biologically here, just on a social level, women have more of a tendency to rally together when they perceive that they're being mistreated. This is just how it seems to go. That's why feminism appealed so much to women, even though it wasn't really about that. It didn't have its roots in that. It originated elsewhere. Men tend to suck it up and carry on, and eventually this anger comes out. And when it does, women cannot seem to apply to men the same sensitivity that they grant themselves and other women. And what's further interesting here, although I won't get into it here, is that what is happening with the backlash to Me Too is in, to a smaller degree, what's happening with the MGTOW philosophy and men choosing to go MGTOW, choosing to just walk away. They're realizing the ramifications. They've seen enough other men suffer unjustly, and they're walking away. I mean, and again, the interesting thing is, women haven't seemed to care until it impacts them negatively. Then we say, oh, women are suffering in the workplace. I guess we need to not do this anymore. Well, it is really selfish. Anyway, just some food for thought today as I was reading this article. It's good to check ourselves, whether you call yourself a feminist, an anti-feminist, a non-feminist, whatever. If you're in no man's land, think about it. If you're a woman, all of us as women need to think about this, because we currently live in a society where we are incredibly privileged. I believe women are the most privileged human beings in America, no doubt. And it's good to think about these things and not to just say, oh gosh, I wonder why men are so angry. Well, if we were going through what men were going through these days, we would be too, but of course you don't see it on the nightly news, you don't see it in the mainstream media, unless you're actually reading these stories. You may not be aware of what men actually are enduring on a daily basis all around America. I will see you later.